It has been too long since I had my guy Marc Henry on to talk a little Texas high school and college football recruiting. Let's go.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your man, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. That is Marc Henry. He does the same thing, Lone Star kind of guy up in the Fort Worth area, metroplex. Appreciate everybody stopping in and making this your first listen each and every day right here in the nation's #1 podcast network, Locked On. We got a loaded show based on the state of Texas for you today. A little 7-on-7 action at the end. We're going to talk some Kavian Bryant, somebody that Mark told me about a couple years ago. We think he's probably the best quarterback in the class of 27. He's legit. We're going to hit up Mark's area in the Metroplex, just let him spin what he's got in terms of the best players. And to start the show, we're going to talk a little bit of recruiting acumen from SMU, Tech. It's not just the guys that are on the ground. There's back office people. There's the collectives. We're going to get into some of that. It's really awesome. And today's show is brought to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Make sure you check it out because they got birthday cake flavor back. No fork needed. Vanilla cake flavor. Caffeinated kick. No sugar. Party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or over at Amazon. Mark, let's get it going here. Joey McGuire and company up at Tech. Everybody wants to say, well, it's just the money. I don't think that's what the deal is, man. Blanchard, GM's got it going. They've got people trusting them because we both know the bag's getting dropped for guys like Brewster, et cetera, from everybody. You still have to like the people in those offices, and that's up people that don't know. Like Lubbock is not exactly a metropolis kids are trying to get to. So it's harder for them to sell than like SMU or TCU or Baylor, anywhere, I-35 corridor. What is going on up there? Can you give me any clarity on what's happening with that?
Well, I think you have to start with James Blanchard, his ability to manage it, kind of like the NFL. They got a salary cap, and then they got everything it needs, wants, by position, and they're going out to get it. But I think it starts at the top. You got to realize that Joey McGuire is one of those guys. He started as a Texas high school football coach, won a couple state titles at Cedar Hill High School. So he has the reach to get out to the high school coaches in the state of Texas. He's built that relationship. He's part of the Texas High School Football Coaches Association. But Blanchard's been able to streamline and strategically get players. You mentioned Jalen Brewster, who's the #1 defensive tackle or defensive lineman in the 2027 class. This past recruiting cycle, Felix Ojo, the #1 tackles there. I mean, you got to look at that as being attractive. And then playing in the Big 12 and leading the Big 12, going to the Big 12 title, making it to the championship, in the playoffs. Well, not the championship, but just making it to the playoffs and making a playoff appearance. That makes it attractive. And then, hey, you got to look at the atmosphere. Who wouldn't want to have a home atmosphere up at Texas Tech where you get the tortillas tossed at you? You know what I mean? I think that makes a difference as well. There's something about Lubbock that screams that they want to play football. Maybe the atmosphere that you have in the DFW area or even down in Houston or Austin, but it's coming now. And it's because Joey McGuire is putting an imprint on Texas Tech as well as James Blanchard.
I think that's great. And then SMU's got it going. I think TCU's done a pretty good job. I mean, a few years ago, they were in the title game. The state of Texas is pretty balanced. Obviously, everybody talks about UT and the Aggies, but it's a lot more widespread. And Baylor's got money too. Houston won 9 games in the regular season this past year. All these people are finding ways to get talent in different ways. Who else you want to talk about, man? I'll let you kind of kick the door open and go any direction you want.
Well, you mentioned Red Lashley and SMU. Of course, the Mustangs have made an appearance in the playoff. I think you got to start with circling the wagons in the DFW area. They made 2 recent hires in Texas high school football coaches. I go back to this again, the relationships and being able to, use that as an adversary or use that as an adversary or to be able to get these guys on campus. And you got to look at Riley Dodge, Chocolate Carroll, won over 100 games in 9 years. And then South Oak Cliffs defensive coordinator Kyle Ward is on the staff now. So you're looking at them circling the wagons in the DFW area, bringing in some of the best talent right here. I mean, if you go to Duncanville, you go to South Oak Cliff, you go around that I-20 corridor, you're going to find Power 5 talent or Power 4 talent. And it starts with my guy, Brian Fiker, over there, Director of Recruiting Operations. He's a guy in the recruiting department that's been, at the forefront, as well as Alex Brown and Kendall Lambert. They do a great job of getting these kids on campus. Brian, if you go up to a SMU practice, you go up to there in the spring, you see a lot of the best players in the Metroplex on just unofficial visits. They're able to come in and do that and see what you're going to get. They're able to come to games and see the atmosphere. It may not be the biggest stadium. Of course, it's not 100,000 down at College Station, but when you fill up Gerald Ford, it's an atmosphere and a game day atmosphere that's second to none in college football. And I think that, Lashley's done that, and he's been able to sell that. And, he got the extension, and he's going to be they're Dallas's team. He's going to be at SMU for a while. I think they're going to have a chance to be very good in the ACC this year. And you got to look right at the head, of the snake. And when you talk about head coach Rhett Lashley, I love his coaching staff. I love his coach, the wide open offense. And then the defense was very aggressive as well. So the last 2 seasons, they've been to bowl games. You can expect those guys to be very competitive heading into 2026 as well.
What do you think about Houston and what Fritz is doing? I mean, they find guys that other schools are like, and they went out, won 9 games. They got Wegman back. They got our guy Keisean coming into the program. Is it just the master class they put on last year? Is that the ceiling, or are they getting enough players with the people they got behind the scenes now? They can actually take there's not much further to go. Maybe they're the team that plays Tech in the Big 12 title game this year. Where do you see them?
Well, you start talk about Willie Fritz. He was at Blinn. He went to Tulane. He went to Sam Houston State, won a natty there. Usually in his second, third year when he's at these programs is when you start to see that switch flip. He had a tough one that first year. This year they win 9 games and they go to a bowl game. And then you score the number 1 player in the country in Keisean Henderson. You have to circle the wagons. We talk about this all the time. We've had this conversation. Houston is a recruiting hotbed in itself. And it's kind of like Dallas. You want to circle the wagons. And Fritz has come in and he's done that. Keisean Henderson is going to attract other Houston talent, Houston, Beaumont. You can even maybe get into San Antonio, Galveston. All of those, the general area going up to Willis, that's a big score. And Henderson's going to be a guy that's going to, you got to get him on the field early. I think that's the key selling point is he's able to lead the charge, be at the forefront, be that guy that's going to be charismatic. He's got a great game. He's that guy at the quarterback position. And then you got to build around him. He's that key piece.
I think that they'll find a way. Wegman's back, but Keisean's too good just to stand next to Willie.
Absolutely.
I don't know how they're going to do it, but he got to get on the field, bro. He's got to get on the field.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Metroplex, the area that, Mark knows better than anybody. Fort Worth guy. We're going to talk about that next here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn them into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered in for a shot to win NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right. 2 people, flights, tickets, the whole experience. And if you love futures, whether it's conference champion, whether it's the NBA Finals or anything else, that's up to you. This is the place, FanDuel, for you. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost for any NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We are also brought to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. We're looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which just might be sleepers. The board is set. The flavors are ready, and only one is going to take home the number 1 spot. Now, there are always a few sleepers, and while I love berry, I love grape, I love cherry, those are just some of them that I like. There are a couple of sleepers here. Birthday cake, pomegranate, blue raspberry. There's several that are on this list. Strawberry watermelon's another. Don't rule any of those out. Make sure you check them out at 5 Hour Energy. Find your new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or over at Amazon. All right, Mark, it's time to talk about the metroplex. Who you got, who you like, whatever background stories, whatever recruitments, anything you got, man. Let's go.
Well, you got to start with the number one player in the country, in John Meredith III. Great length. You had a chance to see John last year up close and personal a couple of times. Just a phenomenal talent. One of those guys. Flight. Shout out to my guy Flight. Coaches him and trains him as well. Plays for Texas Threat. You got to look at Jerry Outhouse Jr., cornerback at North Crowley High School. So with 40 offers now. I think he's visiting UCLA, Georgia, and a couple more. I think UCLA, Georgia, Arizona State as well. He's going to be taking some OVs as well. Great length, about 6'1", a little bit on the shade of 6'2". He's one of the top corners in the state and definitely in the country. On the offensive side, I know you guys know about SaRod Baker now at DeSoto. He had a monster season, especially in the second half of the season. A 6-game stretch probably that could go down in the annals of history in Texas high school football. He's approaching the 30-40 offer mark as well. Another running back that I like is Jayshon Gibson out of Richland High School. He's starting to bubble as well, about 5'10", just a shade under 200 pounds. Had a monster season, over 2,500 yards rushing. He's a guy maybe that a lot of people don't know about nationally. He's got some offers that is going to Stanford, I think, pretty soon. But he's a guy that I think is going to tote the rock this year and really, really, really go expand to that national recruiting landscape. I think that Julian Caldwell over at Argyle had a phenomenal season as a 2027 wide receiver. Great hands. Again, shout out to my guy Margin Hooks. He's in that camp as well. Great hands, 6'1", almost 6'2". A silky smooth route runner, can get deep. Just the whole route tree. He's a master at it. We talked about Brian Swanson from South Oak Cliff, the number one tackle in the country. He can play some guard. I saw South Oak Cliff moving around a little bit on their way to the state title. Skinny ankles, great length. Just agile. They moved him to guard to help the offense get out to make it to the second level. He can pull screens, everything. Just a mammoth guy at 6'6", 6'5", but so athletic that you got to look at him as probably being the top tackle in the country. I really think that he's going to ascend to that. It depends on who you talk to, but I think that he's a guy that a lot of colleges want on their team. Kyron Haywood over at Denton-Guyer. Actually, Denton-Guyer has 2 defensive line, but Kyron Haywood, I think, is a guy in the interior that colleges are just really, really high on. He's been picking up offers almost every week. And then you got Zane Rowe, 6'5". He can play a tight end. He can play edge. As a freshman, he was committed to Oklahoma, but just a guy that can do it all. He's got the length, the athleticism, and he's got that mean streak in him that you want in a defensive player as well. But Rowe and Kyron Haywood play on the same defensive line up at Guyer. I know you've had a chance to be up at Guyer a couple of times. You probably saw those guys when they were freshmen and sophomores over at Guyer. 2 of the best in the state and definitely in the country as well. I like Taylor Mayo over at Louisville High School, 6'4" corner. Had a chance to see him this weekend over at Yes, Taylor Mayo, 6'4", about 180 pounds. Had a chance to see him this weekend up close. I hadn't seen him since last year, but you talk about length. This guy, he's just so long, so athletic. He covers up one side. He can get really, really physical, but also he can stay in phase down the field and shut a side down. You talk about a guy 6'4", and he's got the feet and the hips to go with it. And the last guy I really liked, I had a chance to see for DeSoto again, is Keisean Redmond, 6'4", 300. Again, we mentioned Texas Tech, committed to Texas Tech. A guy that can play on the outside or the inside. DeSoto kind of moved him around, based on situations. But, he's a guy that I'm telling you could come in. And Brewster, just think DeSoto, Cedar Hill, going up there, that's a deadly combination in the trenches on the defensive side of the ball. But those are some of the guys that, in the 2027 class that are some national guys. Montre Jackson, a DB over at Lakeview Centennials, one of the top defenders as well. Peyton Miller at Anna High School in the offensive line, can play all 5 positions. He's starting to bubble as well as on the national recruiting scale.
There's so many good players in the state of Texas. And while we're on it, I had this queued up. I might as well throw it up there as well. TexAgs is a site that does a good job, and they've got their own rankings and everything. And I know Mark's pretty darn familiar with most of these kids. But Kennedy Brown, he's from the Houston area. He's a great player, offensive tackle. We're both very familiar with Landon Williams-Callis, arguably the best running back in the country. He's another Houston area kid over there. Man, that kid is like, he's kind of Barry Sanders like. Ismail Kamara, he's a Gilmer kid. That's East Texas, isn't it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We talk about a guy that's physical, athletic, plays with that mean streak, 6'6", 6'5". And of course, Gilmer, that's East Texas. You can toss a quarter on any corner and you can find that talent in East Texas. But Kamara's been a guy that's really, really been rising. His national profile has been high as well on the recruiting trail. And then Jaquan Snell, the top safety, in my opinion, probably in the state of Texas. We're talking about, he reminds me of Steve Atwater, just that 6'4", 6'3", but can come down and lay the hat like a linebacker, but can cover as well. Plays special teams. He did everything for Waxahachie this year. And listen, when you talk about a guy that does it on the leadership side of the football too as well, I had a chance to see a couple of games from Waxahachie this year. And we're talking about a guy that's at the forefront of leading his team. And listen, Waxahachie is going to be a team that can challenge for a Texas State title this year as well.
Yeah, that's a good program, so I'm not really shocked. You know anything about the Caden Scott kid? That's San Antonio. You may not have seen him yet, but he's an offensive lineman that's getting a lot of love. There's also
absolutely
Trey Moore, the kid from Pflugerville.
Yes.
I mean, you've probably seen 90% of these kids at 7-on-7 or at camp or something, but you look at the list of kids here, and like you see A&M a couple of times, Texas Tech. It's starting to kind of fill up. Ohio State's got the 13th best. I saw Eli Johnson play. Like, that kid's a dude. I saw him at a 7-on. I'm like, if that kid's not top 10 in Texas, that shows you the depth, because Ohio State's not taking chumps from anywhere. So,
no, well, I mean, you got to look at the track record. I mean, you look at, the offensive player of the year in the NFL, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Ohio State, Rockwall, Texas. I mean, they have a real good track record of coming down, Brian, and getting some of the best players in the state of Texas. And you mentioned Eli Johnson. We're talking about a guy with great range. He can come down and lay the lumber, in run fits. But, what you really want from that safety is for him to be able to get that depth and cover up those back ends. I mean, and Cibolo still, you've heard that name before. You know what I'm saying?
San Antonio area.
That's probably the best or most elite program in the last 10 years down in San Antonio. And then you got Kavian Bryant, in my opinion, the number one quarterback in the class of 2027, Westwood High School out of Palestine. He's a hooper. He's just a phenomenal athlete. Texas Tech got a big recruiting win when they got Kavian Bryant to commit.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because you and I think, Tex Ags they can have their own rankings. I think he's conservatively a top 3 player in the state of Texas. But what does that mean for Tech? Because they're obviously known for defense. Getting Bryant, do you think that's going to help them finally get those, like the tight ends, the running backs, and the receivers? Because Lord only knows the state of Texas got skill talent for days.
Well, I think that's what you're looking for, to make that attraction. We talked about Brewster and Redmond, 2 defensive tackles that could come in and play day one. And Bryant's a guy that's, it's similar to Keisean Henderson. They just happen to be in different classes. But, he can run it. He can throw it. He's got the IQ. He's got every, innate ability to read the defense pretty quick. He's playing at a high level every single week. He's taken Westwood deep in the playoffs every year. And I think, when I saw him commit to Tech, I thought they are setting themselves up for the future. Of course, Sorsby probably going to be the guy this year under center coming over from Cincinnati in the transfer portal. But I think that, Bryant has a chance to come in and be a day one guy. You're going to, like we talked about Keisean Henderson, you're going to have to find a way to get this guy on the field. And then, look at the history of Texas Tech quarterbacks. They've always found a way to get those guys on the field. Baron Morton, came in as a freshman out of Eastern High School, got a lot of time. He had a couple injuries here and there, but he's going to the combine. So, though, putting those guys in place, and everybody knows that when you come to a school like Texas Tech, what can they do about getting you to the next level? And they're starting to prove that with getting guys to the next level now. And I think that translates to getting high-level recruits to come to Lubbock as well.
I agree with that. When we come back, we're going to talk a little 7-on-7, definitely Mark's bag. That is next here on the Portal Podcast.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. It was a heavyweight showdown between number 3 South Carolina and number 7 LSU, and the Gamecocks rose to the occasion. South Carolina secured a hard-fought 79-72 victory to stay atop the SEC standings, using a balanced offensive attack to outlast the Tigers. Tessa Johnson led the way with 21 points, while Raven Johnson added 19. Medina Okot dominated the paint with a double-double, finishing with 12 points and 17 rebounds, while Joyce Edwards chipped in 10 points to round out the scoring. With the statement win, the Gamecocks now turn their attention to a road matchup at number 23 Alabama on Thursday. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
All right, Mark, it's your time to shine. Talk a little 7-on-7, man. It could be a 15-year-old, could be a 17-year-old, whatever one you want to go with, man. Who you got?
Well, this past weekend we were at North Crowley High School, Road to the Crown, DFW. This week we're heading to New Orleans. So we get a chance to see some of the top talent in the state of Louisiana, Mississippi. There'll be some Texas teams there. But there was a guy, Eli Johnson, from North Shore High School, class 2027. He had a phenomenal – he's playing with True Buzz Agency. He had a phenomenal weekend. Long, lean, athletic guy, about 6'3". He can run some great routes, help North Shore win a state title this year as well. Elijah Houston, defensive back, North Crowley High School. One of the top safeties, definitely in the state of Texas, had a wonderful weekend. I think that this guy, I had a chance to see several North Crowley games this past year, and he's a guy that can come up and thump and lay the lumber, but also play the back end. A ball hawk, great ball skills and great instincts. He's got 20 plus offers on his in his bag as well. But there's a guy that you need to know about over at North Crowley High School, Braylen Cunningham. It's a freshman corner. Has Ohio State, SMU, Kansas State, Missouri. He's one of the top corners in the country, in my opinion. He started for North Crowley, who went to the semifinals and lost to Allen in the playoffs this year. This is a guy that had to get on the field. Talking to his coach, Coach DeMarcus Harris, who was the defensive coordinator last year, they had to really, really insert this guy. He was so good, Brian, that they had to find a way to get him on the field. And he also is a special teams guy, returns kicks. But, as a freshman, playing 6A football, you're playing DeSoto, you're playing Mansfield Lake Ridge, you're playing Crowley, you're playing, South Lake, and all of these top teams in 6A as a freshman, starting at corner on the island. Braylen Cunningham is the guy you need to get on your radar as far as being a national recruit. He had a phenomenal weekend playing 18U. This guy is the next big thing when I talk about top flight corners coming out of the state in Texas. Braylen Cunningham is a name you need to know.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Mark, as always, man, it's a lot of fun. Tell everybody where they can find your work, my friend.
Man, listen, you can find my work at hornsports.com. I cover the University of Texas football and recruiting analysts there. You can find me at onthemarksports.com as well. That's my own website. Check out Prep Red Zone Texas. We just dropped the recent rankings, updated the rankings in the class 2027. You can always follow me on Twitter at onthemarksports or markhen44. I'm all over the place, headed to New Orleans in the morning to check out some top talent down there. It's one of those things, Brian, where we have to try to we're all over the place. We talk often. This is the way that we get a chance to see some of the top talent, and be around these guys early, when it comes to getting eyes on them and seeing them go up the recruiting ranks, from 8th graders to now. We saw Booby Feaster early, guys like that. That's why we do this.
I remember seeing Booby for the first time. He was like in 8th grade, and I'm like, that's an 8th grader? And I remember you telling me about him. You're like, oh, yeah, he's next. And I'm like, he looks like he's next. We saw Booby a month or so ago, and he's going off to USC.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
It's a lot of fun, man. Well, appreciate it, Mark. I look forward to doing this again with you. You can find the Portal Podcast wherever you get your pods on audio and, of course, on YouTube. We will see you again soon.